Why is it so hard to explain gaslighting? Why, when you try to put it into words, do people tilt their heads and say, that doesn't sound so bad? Because gaslighting doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't leave bruises that you can actually point to. Gaslighting is like an erosion, a drip, drip, drip of doubt that reshapes your reality until you don't even trust yourself anymore. Annie knew this feeling very well. This is Annie's story, and I'm telling it for her. Her husband had a way of flipping everything back to her. If she tried to stand up for herself, he'd say, "Why are you doing this to me?" Suddenly, he was the victim and she was the one at fault. It was a double standard. She couldn't stay silent because the criticism was constant. But when she did speak up, he deflected in a way that made her feel so guilty for even trying. He told her she needed to watch her weight, for example, though she was rail thin. When she bristled, he'd cover the jab with, "Oh, I'm just telling you for your own good, honey. You would want me to tell you the truth, wouldn't you?" He questioned her friendships. He'd say things like her friends didn't have her best interest, that it wasn't a good idea to spend so much time with them. Then he'd call her too excitable, too dramatic. Always, "You need to calm down." Individually, these comments maybe didn't seem too much. If she had tried to describe them to someone outside the relationship, she'd sound picky, maybe even oversensitive, like she didn't know how to take criticism. But together, day after day, they worked like sandpaper, wearing her down, making her second guess every word coming out of her mouth. Annie started to wonder if she was actually the problem. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was too thin-skinned, too dramatic. And every time she thought about confiding in someone, she'd end up pulling back because how do you explain 1,000 tiny cuts? How do you put into words something that only makes sense if you live it day after day? I think that's the cruelty of gaslighting. It hides in plain sight. One comment sounds like a joke, another sounds like advice, and the other one sounds like concern. But you put them all together, they just form this web, a reality where you don't know up from down. And when you try to explain it, people might say to you, that doesn't sound so awful. And not because they don't care, but because they've only been handed one thread of the web, not, not the whole thing. Gaslighting is powerful because it accumulates. It's not just what was said, it's how often, it's how predictably, it's how every attempt to stand up is flipped back onto you until you feel like you're shadow boxing yourself. Does that sound familiar at all? And this is why so many survivors stay silent, because putting it into words feels impossible, because the evidence, it just never sounds as heavy as the impact, because it feels like maybe the abuser was right, that you are too sensitive. But hear me, and hear me so clearly. Confusion is not weakness. It's a sign you're being just twisted into knots. The guilt in the face of cruelty is not proof that you failed. It's proof that you still had empathy, even for someone who was trying to break you. So if you've struggled to explain what you've been through, If you've stumbled for words or shut your mouth halfway through because you could tell they didn't understand, this one is for you. You don't have to have the perfect story to validate your experience. Your feelings are evidence enough. And if you've ever left a conversation thinking, maybe I'm imagining it, maybe I am too much, let me tell you right now, you're not. That thought itself is a scar gaslighting leaves behind. Gaslighting is meant to silence you, but here you are. You're listening, you're seeking the truth, you're looking for language to explain it. That is the beginning of your freedom. I'm Kyle Hackley, attorney, author of the book Undercurrent, and the host of the Are You Annie podcast. Gaslighting thrives in silence. Speaking it aloud, even if it still sounds small or confusing, it really is a victory. It could be your first victory. As always, please remember that you are stronger than you ever believed. You are a warrior against narcissistic abuse. I want you to be tenacious and never, ever give up on what's important to you. I want to thank you for being here, for staying until the end. You've got to know that I honor your truth, that you matter, and that you're not alone as long as you're here. Thank you again, and until next episode, promise me that you will take good care of yourself. I'll see you soon.